There is this interesting thing that's just happened in France. Okay, something that we really have to point out here. Okay, now I'd like you to pay attention to the guy in the red. He is a dissident who posted some things online that China didn't like. All right, and so he's being hunted down by the Chinese government. This is what the picture is. So he was living in Germany and he was being harassed. He moved to France, and the person filming this actually went to go and save him from being forcibly deported from France. Okay, so this is the basic timeline. Okay, I'm going to just paraphrase a little bit here, but this guy, obviously the Chinese government wants him to go back to China to face charges because they're unhappy with what he posted online. He's a dissident, right? So they contact him when he's in France. This is according to him, and this is all alleged, so, you know, this might change in the future, but this is really what the story is. So they contact him and tell him, listen, there's nowhere to hide. We'll find you no matter where you go. So don't even think about doing anything. Come to us at this Chinese restaurant here in France. Okay? So he goes to the Chinese restaurant. Apparently they rough him up a little bit, and then they take him by force to the airport. Okay. But not only a Chinese consular official, a Chinese policeman, and then these volunteers. These Chinese volunteers that volunteer, which we'll show you in a minute, which pisses me off, by the way, that they have these CCP volunteers that are allowed to walk around in uniform in France.
We need to question why that's happening.
But they all take him to the airport. They confiscated his phone and his passport, apparently, at this restaurant. And then they took him to the airport, and they were going to get him on this plane to Guangzhou to obviously be arrested and being taken to the police. But at the last minute, he started to fight with him. And then this other dissident came in over here and broke it up and filmed
And the press showed up.
Yeah. So let's take a look. So this dissident is like, these are embassy officials and, you know, Chinese government-related people. And he's saying, like, what are you doing? Don't go, you know, like...
这些都是是不是？这是法国的记者啊，电视台的。他们要强制我遣返回中国。
I'd like you to pay attention to this guy in the red. That is a Chinese citizen volunteer, I guess, working for the Chinese embassy. But, you know, he's walking around in a literal red vest that says he's a, you know, volunteer in Chinese on it. You know what I mean? In a uniform.
So it'd be one thing if you had a Chinese group, right? And they go volunteer to set up a dragon parade.
Yeah.
Or they wear these red vests because they're setting up a Chinese New Year festival, right?
Yeah.
You have the Chinese government doing Operation Fox Hunt.
Yes.
Trying to kidnap a man out of Europe back to China so he can literally disappear forever.
Yeah.
Because he made fun of the Chinese government on the internet.
Yeah.
And
Apparently
they are volunteering in France with impunity to help this occur.
Yeah.
That's why.
Let's take a look at the footage. It speaks for itself. So that guy in red is the guy they were trying to get rid of.
A maroon jacket.
And they're basically, now they're asking, where's this other guy's passport? Because they confiscated his passport.
Right.
Like, who took his passport? Give him his passport back. He's like, that person has it.
Okay, his passport with him.
Sorry, sir. I'm French journalist. I'm French journalist. I ask some question.
Guess the French press turned up.
Gotta bring a little light.
Why?
Sure.
Why?
It's a free country. You can film. No problem. It's a free country. Not a People's Republic of China, sir. Not a communist China. This is a free country.
So, I mean, just quickly, what you saw there, that guy, the consular officials and whatnot that were there and the volunteers, they had taken the guy's passport. And they were trying to force him to get on this plane. And you saw the dissident who came. He's like asking, where's his passport? Give him his passport back. He asked the guy, who has your passport? He said, that guy. Imagine the consular officials of whatever country, like say you're American and you're in Thailand or something, and the American consulate and stuff, they say, you better meet up with us, otherwise, you know, there's going to be trouble. You meet up, they confiscate your passport and your phone and stuff, and they take you to the airport. And now they have yours.
Because you posted a meme online about Joe Biden.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're like, okay, you're getting on this plane. You're like, no, don't. But they're holding your documents, your travel documents and stuff. You know, this is what's happening.
That's what's happening. And think of how insane it is that the Chinese government spent this much money to get this guy repatriated back to China because he posted memes online.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. So the journalists are now following them to the airport because, you know, they were following and waiting to like try help the guy.
Alors j'ai fait semblant d'accepter.
So they're on their way to the airport here.
Elle se dirige vers l'aéroport Roissy-Charles de Gaulle.
So there's an important scene I want to show you here.
We cannot follow him.
Ling est escorté jusqu'à la
There he
porte
is.
d'embarquement d'un vol pour Canton. Il est entouré par des membres d'une association d'amitié franco-chinoise, Amour, Cœur Uni, reconnaissables à leur gilet rouge. Ils ont l'air de lui souhaiter bon voyage.
All right, I want you to take a look. Here you've got the volunteer guys in the red jackets. So they're making sure that he goes through the gate, okay? And they're filming it and taking photos so that they can obviously, you know, fill in a report to their superiors. Just take a look. See, he's taking his phone. He's flanking this side. There's another one here and the other volunteer vest over here. They're making sure he gets through that gate. And like I said, there they are. There's the officials and apparently a Chinese policeman as well, flagging and saying, okay, bye. You're screwed now. Cops are waiting for you on the other side. But the fact that the volunteers are there to film it so they can report back to the Chinese government is disgusting. They shouldn't be allowed to be doing this in European countries.
How about the whole embassy should not be able to repatriate people?
True.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
This was not agreed upon.
No.
If it's a diplomatic effort, this would have been an agreement with the French government.
Correct.
Wu reçoit un message. Il est envoyé par Ling.
Yeah, so the interesting thing is the response that the Chinese embassy put out.
This is actually chilled. It gave me goosebumps how disgusting this is.
Yeah, because there was a news report about this, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously the French press, you know, that thing was there.
Yeah.
And they filmed it and they made an article about it on Channel 2, I think it is. So the Chinese government put out this thing. They said on March 4th, Ling Huajian, that's the guy, right, presented himself to the consular department of the Chinese embassy. According to him, he had been duped into participating in activities of the Falun Gong sect and now realized that he had made mistakes. And since he had burned his passport when he participated in anti-Chinese activities in Germany, blah, 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 he asked the consular service for help to make him a travel document to return to China and report himself to the police.
Man posts memes online.
Yeah.
Goes to Germany to flee China.
Yeah.
Gets harassed by them there and has to flee to France.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the embassy says, no. He joined a cult. He joined Falun Gong, right?
Yeah.
And he felt really guilty about that. So he came back and said, please give me my new passport.
So I can go and report
back
myself to the
report myself."
police.
Yeah.
To the police.
You couldn't have come up with a better story than that.
Yeah, I literally, he came to us. He came to us, by the way, and said, no, the Falun Gong duped him into being a bad guy.
Yeah.
So he feels bad. He wants to go back to China to go to jail. So he came to us so we could give him travel documents so he could go to jail. Yeah, likely story. And then he's like, the so-called forced repatriation is nothing but an outright fabrication. Ling Huajian not only failed to express any sense of gratitude to the embassy and association for giving him a selfless helping hand, but even worse...
They beat him up in a restaurant, didn't they?
Yeah, they beat him up in a restaurant.
Forced him to go back to China to go get disappeared.
Took his travel documents from him. And they were like, you're getting on this plane. Oh, selfless helping hand. Okay.
I mean, they literally victim shame him to say, how dare he not accept getting disappeared? He should have thanked us.
Yes, exactly. But not only that, even worse, he falsified an embassy document to fabricate lies about the forced repatriation by the Chinese side. This thankless and defamatory gesture outrages us. This so-called embassy email is completely falsified from paper to format, including seal and signature. The embassy has already reported them to journalists from France and wherever. And if we take a closer look at the circumstances of this case, we will have enough reason to believe that it is a poisonous trap set by anti-Chinese forces like Safeguard Defenders and Falun Gong against the Chinese embassy and the Chinese Nationals Associations, in which Ling Huajian played a puppet role. And then it continues. But then, why this farce? Because 2 years ago, these anti-China forces tried in vain to denigrate the overseas Chinese service station posts, which are those illegal police stations, by the way, as clandestine overseas Chinese police stations. And they can't accept this defeat. Why Ling Huajian? Because people like him are the victims of brainwashing and psychic manipulation by Falun Gong. Otherwise, we could never explain why Ling Huajian acted in such a way.
It's just...
when what he did is not all in his interest. And why now? Because this year marks the 60th anniversary of the Sino-French diplomatic relations, and President Xi Jinping will soon visit France. This is the perfect time for anti-China forces to provoke malicious incidents.
I'm sorry, but this is one of the most grotesque... It's both simultaneously funny and horrifying.
Yes.
The Chinese government put that out, took a victim that they tried to kidnap back to China and get rid of.
Yeah.
Or parade around as some sort of like horrible anti-government force. Because he posted memes online.
Yeah.
And then went out, when they got caught doing it, made a post about how he should have been grateful, and he turned himself in, and this is all everything doesn't check up, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's all conflicting what they say.
Exactly.
They don't even blame him at the end. They blame all these anti-China forces or whatever. If you're acting this unhinged and you're getting volunteers and you're kidnapping people, I'm sorry, France, but that's when you get rid of the diplomatic staff from China. I think you've crossed the line.
Yeah.
You do not operate like that in someone else's country.
Yeah.
That is inappropriate. That's a Western free country with freedom of speech and a government that's supposed to protect people, including immigrants and people seeking asylum and people trying to hide from authoritarian forces.
Exactly.
You need to do something about this. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Why do you? By the way, those volunteer people are from those strange overseas Chinese association things.
Yeah.
You know, those clandestine police stations. They shouldn't be allowed to be walking around in uniform enforcing the Chinese government's rule. Reporting.
Nor should the embassy staff.
Reporting to the consulate, taking photos of stuff, and hurting people, and it's ridiculous. That shouldn't be allowed.
Why is diplomatic immunity allowed in a country that's clearly acting like your adversary?
Yeah. And I like the way they pretend like this forced repatriation isn't a thing, when they clearly have done it countless times. And they've bragged about it countless times.
Yeah, so that was my favorite part of this, right?
Yeah.
And when I say favorite, I mean my least favorite. Because what they say is that this so-called forced repatriation doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
They literally made a reality TV show.
Yes.
And then did it in English, too.
Yes, on CGTN.
To brag about how we can get people to do forced confessions on TV and then repatriate them back to China. The forced repatriation. They literally brag about doing that.
They do it.
They say, we've successfully repatriated 12,000 Chinese people back to China. Forced repatriation, and then they act like it doesn't exist.
I absolutely love the whole part where they're like, this guy came to us and said, oh no, he was brainwashed to do evil things. By the way, his evil things were posting things online, criticizing the government. He didn't do bad, terrible things. No. He didn't like bomb a place or anything. He like literally posted
memes online,
stuff online. Oh, so he was brainwashed into doing that, and so came to us so that we could arrange travel documents and help him go and turn himself into the police in China. That is the stupidest, most unbelievable timeline in the history of the world.
I'm sorry, guys, but dissidents and family of dissidents and all this stuff, they do not go back to China.
No.
So this is the dumb, that embassy post really exposed the thought process.
Yeah.
Oh, someone came to us and said, can you please make me a new passport? I'd really love to go back to China.
To turn myself into the police.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
ridiculous.
Absolute nonsense. Just thought we'd bring it to your attention, and hopefully something gets done about this.
Yeah, it's under investigation right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, we are a bit late to the story because France has blown this up. It's definitely widespread right now.
Yeah. Let's hope Macron stops being a little cake and do something about it. A little, a little confectionery, whatever you call that thing.
Yeah, I mean,
those things actually taste terrible. I don't like macarons.
Oh, they're amazing.
You think they're great?
They're so good.
Maybe I've only had bad ones.
Ever. Yeah, you gotta have good ones. Yeah, for sure. They're very hard to make properly.
I had them in China, so.
Oh, no, I've never had a good one in China, for sure.
Yeah.
Chinese macaron? I don't know about that.
It kind of exists anyway. It's one of the like most cringe, horrible memories that I have because
It's kind of a theme for this show.
what I saw on that camera, it kind of scarred me. And she's doing that, crawling around, doing like, dude looked like Jerky. He was like a really old man. You know what I mean? He just looked like Jerky.
And I can actually look back and pinpoint the moments where I became a douchebag. It was the Shape of Your Heart from NSYNC, if my memory
I'm gonna
serves.
puke in my mouth here. It's like, ugh.
Whatever, dude.
He said, "Open your mouth." Then he put into his mouth a hot piece of quartz. Then they beat the bride in
What is the moral of that story?
There is no moral. That's just the story.
Can almost sing it. When I take a breath, you fill up my lungs. And if my mind